Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. My guest is one of Broadway's favorite leading men. You know him from such shows as In the Heights, Hamilton, Shuffle Along, and from his 3 Tony-nominated performances in Violet, The Scottsboro Boys, and Carousel. On TV and film, you know him from Apple TV's See and from the upcoming Tick Tick Boom for Netflix. And this coming Thursday night, August 26th, he will be in concert as part of the Broadway Out East series at Calissa's in the Hamptons. Please say hello to my friend, Joshua Henry.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. Good to see you again.
You see your whole career flash in front of you like, oh my God, I did all that, didn't I?
Yeah, especially after this pause of last year, it's really cool to hear those shows again. Yeah.
We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff. First off, how are you, my friend, and where are you?
I'm good. I'm in New York right now, and I'm doing pretty well. I've recently had twins, and they're 5 months old now, so they're now sleeping through the night more and more and more. So the bags are less and less. And I'm feeling, rejuvenated and energized to create more and more.
Beautiful. No, because I was going to ask you, are you able to put into words what the past 15 months have meant for you? Because even though there's a lot of negative, you have so much positive that has happened for you. How do you sum up the past? It's actually 16 months, I think now, right?
Yeah, 16 months. I mean, for me, yeah, it's been hard for sure, but so many incredible things have come. And one is my twins. Another is my EP Guarantee. Another is my album that I created actually last year that's going to be coming out September 10th, which is called Grow, which I feel like, which is my favorite word and what this whole time has been for me. Whether that means to slow down, to be able to take inventory of what I really want, and what my passion is, what I think my purpose is, and so I've had a lot of time to think about all those things. And like a plant that gets blown over by the wind, and the seeds drop to the ground again to take root. I feel like that's kind of what's been going on with me. So many incredible things, despite the challenge and the pause of last year.
How has being a dad changed the way you look at your life and your career?
I love that question, and I think being a dad has helped me to think less about all the things that I can do, and more about the things that I should be doing, and that I'm passionate about. Because there's nothing like when your little babies look at you, or even my 3-year-old Samson looks you in the eye, and they want to see. They take their cues from me and their incredible mom, Catherine, and I want them to see that. To try to move with purpose. And I think one of the things that is my purpose is to grow as much as I can, to not look back and to create, especially through music, which has always been a huge, huge, huge passion of mine. So to be able to share in music right now so much, Broadway, of course, as well, but what's been going on in my mind in the last 16 months with my incredible Broadway fans who follow me through any avenue I go, whether it's film or television or music, it means a lot to me. So that's how it's changed me. It's really helped me focus on the music, and sharing my heart through music. Yeah, that's the biggest change.
Okay, now for your older son, showbiz aspirations, I mean, there.
Since he was, like 6 months old, I'd pull out the guitar and he's like, just pawing at it. He loves music. He loves show tunes. He's really into Frozen. He hasn't seen a Broadway show yet. So I'm like, what's the first show that we're going to take him to? Probably Lion King, because he knows all that music. But he knows what Daddy does. He knows that Daddy goes away sometimes to do a concert. But I always tell him I'm going to bring him back a picture or a video so that he can see what happened, and that I'm always thinking about him while I'm performing.
Okay, I see showbiz in his future. You know that already. You set the stage for him. You see that already with the guitar and what Daddy does and falling in love with shows. I see someone in the future that we're going to be seeing on stage or TV or film. Get ready.
I've got to be ready. I've got to be ready for that. I would never be like, don't do that, because this is what Daddy does. So I'd have to be ready for that.
I love it. You know, with the New York theater coming back, how inclusive do you hope it will be and diverse? What are your thoughts on the theater coming back, Josh? You've had a lot of time to think about this. We all have.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for the best. There's a great song called "Stay Positive" that I really love, and I hope that a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past 16 months, so many incredible organizations like Black Theater United, Broadway Advocacy Coalition, which is near and dear to my heart, that work will continue to permeate through our industry. I love that. I believe the first play that came back to Broadway was Passover, and I hear it. I can't wait to see it. But I love that there's just a lot more Black playwrights and creatives, and that's a big emphasis right now, from the usher level all the way up to management, which is really important, not just on stage. And I hope that continues to spread through the orchestras. So there's a lot of work being done about that too, and so that makes me really excited and positive to jump back into a community that doesn't just accept what has been as the norm. And I'm thankful that there are organizations, and I keep shouting out Broadway Advocacy Coalition because I love them so much. And I try to support them as much as I can. So yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good right now.
Yeah. Well, anybody watching, go to these organizations, to their websites, so you can learn so much. You can donate. And I want to give a big shout out to Passover. I was there the first night. It was electrifying to be back in the theater. The playwright and the director making their Broadway debuts. It was electrifying. So like I said, when you and your wife go back to the theater, Passover is one you got to put at the top of your list.
Oh, I cannot wait. Yeah, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations. This coming Thursday night, August 26th, you will be live in concert at Calissa's in the Hamptons. How excited are you?
I am so excited. I can't wait to share this set there at the Hamptons. It's me, and I'm bringing this guy. You know, never too far away from the with the guitar. I mean, I play like every day, so it'll be a really cool acoustic set. I'm bringing a pianist as well, and I'm gonna sing some just like Broadway songs in my funky, soulful way, the way I do it, from In the Heights, some shows you see back here, to Carousel, to I'll show you, to Hamilton. So I really want to really get deep into the show, and I also want to share some stories over the past 16 months that have been kind of life-changing for me, things that have been happening in my life that have inspired new music, which I'll also be sharing some songs from my upcoming album Grow. So yeah, it's gonna be a really cool moment. I'm looking forward to it.
It must be so great just to be rehearsing to perform live in front of an audience.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I actually about 2 weeks ago I went to the Barrington stage to perform, and it was unbelievable. It was outside in this incredible tent, and that feeling of the expectance of something magical happening between the audience and myself. I felt it. It was so thick, Richard, and I miss it so much. And I feel like even next year we're going to be talking about this feeling. Hopefully we don't get jaded into thinking this is just the norm, but it's a really sacred thing for me to be able to use my voice and move someone in an emotional way. So I can't wait to do that more and more. And yeah, I mean, last time I sang at Barrington Stage, I sang "I'll Cover You," and I looked up, and you know, I was getting choked up. And I was like, Josh, you got to keep it together to get through this song. But I looked in the audience, and just that first "Live in My House," you know, that first phrase happened, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, you know, you felt a chill go over the audience. Those are the moments that I live for and that I love to share and receive that energy. So I can't wait to do that. Not with a huge orchestra, but with something that I've been playing so much for the last 16 months. I mean, for a more large portion of my life, but this instrument that has gotten me through the pandemic.
I love that. An intimate, personal evening with you. That's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are stripping everything away and just being honest, because everyone, you're going through the same thing that millions of people all around the world have gone through, and
Absolutely.
it's great. Now, talk about your new album. When does the album come out?
So the album is called Grow.
Okay.
And, if anyone who follows me on social media knows that that's my favorite word. I created this little movement called Grow With That, AKA That Growth Life. And so it's called Grow. It comes out September 10th. And it's got a lot of music that's really near to my heart, that hopefully makes you move, that moves something inside you and that breaks your neck, with the incredible music. I worked with this producer who's a superstar. His name is Theron Feemster, also known as Nephew. He's worked with Maroon 5, the Doja Cat, Michael Jackson, Dr. Dre, Justin Bieber, so many incredible artists. And so being able to work with him and him encouraging me to use the fullness of my voice and what's going on in my heart to bring this as my first recorded product is incredible. I'm so excited about it. And I think that a lot of these songs, some are doing really well. Songs from the EP are doing well. So I can't wait for folks to hear Grow. And I can't wait to share the music and perform it more and more.
Oh, I can't wait. Congratulations on that, my friend, that you did this.
Thank you.
Coming out. Really wonderful. I want to go back to the beginning. There are certain people we meet along in our life that change our lives. How did your choir teacher, and I hope I can say her name right, is it Birgit?
Birgit, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
The last name is?
Fioravante.
Okay, I love her name. Okay. What did she do for you? Not only did she start early on in your life, but she's come back numerous times. Tell me how life-changing she's been for you and the path she set you on.
I wouldn't be talking to you now. I wouldn't have any of these posters back here. I would not, I didn't know that performing was a career that you could embark on, that could be part of your life. I met her my junior year of high school, and she told me, hey, you can really do this. And I didn't even know what this was. And she encouraged me to audition for the University of Miami. She encouraged me then and once I got there, so many pieces of my life connected. My love of music, a newfound love to perform on stage. And yeah, I've stayed close with her throughout the years. And anytime I get a chance, I shout her name out. I have invited her to come back up, and I've trained with her as recently as my last Broadway show, Carousel, 3 years ago now. And it's funny, the first song she ever taught me was If I Loved You. And that was a song the first musical theater song I ever was introduced to. So training with her for that means so much. We were at, I think it was Open Jar Studio and going through some of these songs. And I was like, wow, this is really happening right now. If you didn't discover me, really, I would not be here. I don't know if I would have ever come to New York. I really don't know. So yeah, she's really changed my life. And I think about, even when I'm doing my recorded music as a recording artist, and I'm doing all these pop styles, the foundation of technique that she gave me is there, that I can, go in the studio for 6 hours, or eventually, wait for it, is go on tour and do a 20-city tour when that time comes. I have the stamina and I have the training thanks to her. She sparked the fire, and it's been a flame that has just been continued to burn inside me.
So I love it, because didn't she say you should audition for the role of Harold Hill in The Music Man in school, right?
Yes, that's right. And that's funny. She was that was in high school, and I got The Music Man there. And then at the University of Miami in college, I did it there. So, goodness, Hugh, if you ever call out, I'll be right there for you.
Oh, I can see this. I can see, maybe, you never know if the tour goes out or whatever else, or you steps away, Joshua Henry steps in. Harold Hill, The Music Man.
Trouble.
I love the full circle moments. I mean, you met your wife at the University of Miami, right?
So many things. Yeah. 2005, we met there, and 16 years later, life has changed so much. But I wouldn't have gone, again, that's back to Birgit. I'm like, I would not have met my wife if I didn't know you.
You'd be a whole different person.
I often wonder, Richard, I'm like, I don't know what would have happened, but thank God it worked out this way.
See, I believe that eventually roads, if you skip a road, somehow you come back to it. I believe in that. But like I said, she has done so much for you. So I just think it's amazing. Reading everything she's done feels like, wow, if he hadn't met her, who knows where he'd be. Say, you'd have a blank wall behind you. You'd be sitting there, right?
Just a green screen of,
or a mirror. Oh, another question. So during the pandemic, speaking of green screens, what part of your house did you turn into a sound stage or a stage to do self-tapes?
Oh, to do everything, the Zooms. It was a room that I had in my house that I'm now kicked out of. Now it's the twins' nursery. So now I'm in a different place, but I had a whole room to myself at that point, and I was like, okay, this is great. Twins were like, you out. But I just remember so many times coming into that room when I was there and being like, this is my theater. This is my recording studio. This is my creative home right now. And I love it. And this is what it is. And I'm embracing it. It's 10 by 10. And here we are,
So now you have a hallway to do your self-tapes in now, right? So please stay out of the hallway. This is my new filming area, right?
Right. Please, no, the shadow, baby. Can you the lights right there, just to,
Oh, I love this. You have such an incredible career. I was going through everything. I've known you from like the first day you arrived in New York. I followed you at all those posters on the wall. I've been there for all of them. But
yes, you have.
What an amazing career you've had. So I'd like to mention some of the highlights and just tell me what comes to mind, a fun story or a great memory.
Okay.
You made your Broadway debut at In the Heights. How magical was that night, and what do you remember about it?
So magical because it felt like I was living in Washington Heights at the time.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then when I came home, I think it was a Sunday night, I heard the music playing, I heard the salsa playing. I was like, did I even leave the stage? So it was In the Heights at work and then In the Heights at home. I remember about opening night, I injured my lip really bad, and I didn't know if I was even I didn't tell you this, Richard, if I was gonna be able to perform. Thankfully, Michael Balderrama, who was the swing at the time, did a split track with me. So I was able to actually go to opening night with a lip the size of a softball. Yeah.
What did you do?
Chris Jackson punched me in the face. If there was a club scene and there was like a stage fight. And we had a moment, we had rehearsed it thousands of times from off Broadway to Broadway, but he accidentally clocked me. Yeah. And it was like a whole thing, went to the emergency room in previews. So I remember calling home, was like, Mom, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Thankfully, it all worked out. But that was my magical opening night. It was like, that's what it was.
That's a great chapter for the book. I didn't know that. Clocked by Chris Jackson.
That's the name of the chapter. Clocked by Chris Jackson.
I love that. That is because you originally wanted to be an accountant, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
My mom works at KPMG. And I was like, I'll just do what my mom does. She works in an accounting firm. And it just didn't occur to me to do something you were super passionate about for a living. So many things had to align that started with God and Birgit.
Listen, you could have been the singing accountant. You could have had your card. Joshua Henry, singing accountant.
There's not one yet. So,
You never know. But I thought to myself, I was like, oh, I knew your mom did that. But I was like, wow. I was like, an accountant. That's amazing. But then you started to write music because you did the music for an off-Broadway musical, right? At the Vineyard?
Oh, yeah. At the Vineyard Theater. Shafrika the White Girl, it was called, starring Anika Larson. Music has always been a part of my life. And I just started composing these beats and these, this really groovy thing. She's Shafrika the White Girl. And she was like, no, I want that. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can continue to roll this out. And I've been writing music for a long, long, long time. Before I even took it really seriously. Even after that, I created a musical with a friend, Luis Salgado, who you know well, called Amigo Duende, a children's show for kids. So I've been writing, a lot behind the scenes as I've been the front man of a lot of these shows. And, this moment last year helped me to step back and be like, you know what, but your voice and what's inside of you at Joshua needs to be showcased too. So, yeah.
I love that because I saw that at the Vineyard. Just so you know, I saw that at the Vineyard. And I was like, I totally forgot that you had done that.
Deep cut.
I'm trying to find those. I love the Vineyard playbills, the programs they have from there. So I'm trying to find it. It's in store in summer, but I'm going to find it one day and show you that I have it.
Awesome.
You then returned to Broadway as favorite son in the Green Day musical American Idiot. I mean, so different from anything we had seen on Broadway. Favorite memory of doing that for you was what? Being a part of that Green Day musical?
Favorite memory, at one point, Billy Joe Armstrong took over the role of St. Jimmy.
Yeah.
And one day he came on stage and he was so wild. He would do whatever. He was like, to the stage managers, they were always like, He jumps off the stage, goes all the way to the back concession stand, grabs a bottle of some liquor, takes a swig, brings it back up, and pours it into John Gallagher's mouth. I was like, oh, wow. This is a rock show right here. This is not. And then my second favorite memory of that is not getting injured because that was a really hard show. Jumping out of there in my underwear in socks to the ground, it was the biggest workout of a show I've ever done.
Well, also Chris Jackson wasn't in that show, so you definitely to worry about.
I knew I was safe. I'm just playing Chris. I got.
Listen, Chris Jackson. I worship him like you do, but no, that was such a workout, that show American Idiot.
Yeah.
Like, how do these people do this 8 times a week?
Whew. Yeah, I mean, we had to. It was like a mandatory 45-minute warm up before the show, which was very necessary. Now that I think back, thankfully we made it intact.
The American Idiot workout, how do you stay so trim? Like, I do the American Idiot workout. It's like, I love this.
Totally.
People are doing shows like, oh no, it's like the Sergio Trujillo, whatever he does for his musicals, like that's the workout you do. It's like that's how you stay fit, by doing your show.
That's right, 8 times a week.
Yeah. Okay. Now you received your first Tony nomination for your stunning portrayal of Haywood Patterson in one of my all-time favorite musicals, Kander and Ebb, David Thompson's, Susan Stroman's The Scottsboro Boys. How magical was it living in the world of that musical and working with that amazing creative team?
I was just looking back at a picture of dress rehearsal for that musical right before we opened. And, it's David Thompson, Susan Stroman, and it's actually a video I took with an old phone and John Kander. And I go, John Kander, say hello. And he looks at me. He's like, oh, hey, Josh. He's like, what's that? And I was like, it's a phone. I'm recording you. So that was a really cool moment that I'm going to share at some point, maybe online. But that moment, it looked, as I think about it, I'm like, whoa, how did I get here? I remember when I was just moving to New York in my little U-Haul truck from Florida, the song that was playing when we passed the sign, Welcome to New York, was Start Spreading the News, which is a John Kander song that he wrote, and Sinatra and so many others made so huge. So to be my first Broadway lead, I was like, wow, how is this even happening? Yeah.
Because I had Brandon Victor Dixon here last week, and he said, Richard, working on that show was unlike any other thing I had ever done before. That whole creative team and working on that show. He said there aren't words to describe what it was like. Yeah.
I mean, the creative process and also the content, telling that true story, such a provocative, bold storytelling, was just one of the top memories of my Broadway career so far.
And that score is brilliant. I mean, that score is haunting and positive, and then haunting again. And you know the story, and you're like, oh my God, you feel for all these people. But one of my favorite Kander and Ebb scores, because I love them, but I mean, there was just something about that show, and just the way Susan directed and choreographed that show, just so beautiful. Okay, the Gershwins, Porgy and Bess, Jake, favorite memory. I mean, look who you worked with in that show. Norm, David Allen Greer, I mean, everybody.
I don't eat. My favorite memory of that show, there's so many. Right now, what's coming to mind is working with Audra for the first time. And so watching her navigate the stage and interact with people when she was not the focus of the scene. That was my favorite memory, because it taught me how to stay alive at every moment, every single moment, and to have an understanding of the world and to just explore and notice things. you know One day she came up, we were like way upstage, like in the dark on stage, and I'm Jake, I'm this like the town fisherman who everyone respects, and she looks at me up and down and just like she was like, I forgot what she said, but she just like spat on the ground, and I was like, whoa, that's not in the script. And it never happened again. But just being able to see her perform and live in every moment was incredible.
Yeah, because I'm sure everybody you've worked with, you've learned from somebody, like these masters, and you become a master on your own. But I'm saying, a master at your craft. I mean, just learning from all these people and watching them work in awe and taking that all in, to make you a better performer.
That's the thing. It's like every one of these experiences I've been blessed to have, you soak up the cream from it, the juice from it, and then you take that with you, and then you share it, and then all of a sudden you become this seasoned performer. Yeah. And the people, these kids just graduated from NYU are and look at like, hey, Josh, and I'm like, when did I become the dude?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing to have learned and to keep learning.
One day you're just anointed when you meet the kids, and they're like, that's Joshua Henry. You're the dude.
I know, it's wild. Hey.
Yeah. You received your second Tony nomination for playing Flick in the Roundabout Theater production of another one of my favorites, Violet. I mean, how special was that musical? And look who you shared the stage with, Sutton Foster.
Yeah. I mean, that music to me was also special, that experience, because that was the first musical that I did in college when I was eligible to be a sophomore, and I just do crew. Michael McElroy directed me in that musical in college, and then 8 years later to do it on Broadway with one of the most incredible singing actresses of our generation was amazing. And then to have her really validate me at that time when I'm a confident guy, but like to have someone so seasoned and so caring and so generous and talented say, wow, you're killing this, bro, like wow, was so validating. All the work that I put into, the years at University of Miami and leading up to that point, I was like, wow, no, I really, really belong here. And you need that along the way, no matter how much you've done, or, you need that. You need little checkpoints and to get validated. And she did that for me. So I love you, Sutton.
Yeah. Brilliant performance from all of you in that show. Well, then you appeared as Noble Sissel in Shuffle Along. I mean, what was it like working with that company, but particularly George C. Wolfe?
Yeah. First of all, I got to say about Shuffle Along, similar to Scottsboro Boys, there was nothing like performing in an all-black cast. The cultural shorthand that we have about from food to church to haircuts to, to dance was unbelievable to be in an environment like that. That felt like home. And then, George was incredible. So many lessons, you've been in rehearsal with him and he's just like dropping these gems from his career and his life experience as an artist. He just wanted to write down every single one. But the main one that I got was, don't rush through your failure. Don't rush through your failure. That stuck with me. Don't just overlook the bad things that happen or like the stumbling stones. Really look at them and again, take the juice from them so you can grow from them. And then you take those growth moments to the next moment.
Because I remember that Brandon and a few other people told me that you had these, like, George would sit with you and you'd have all these talks about what it was like growing up and how different everybody was and everybody's way into the business and, things they fought with early on or fought against early on. And that was very enlightening for all of you when you were putting the show together, right?
It really was. It really was. And what I loved about that experience is we would go in a circle and we would all talk about them, no matter who you were. And to be able to share so openly and so vulnerably about your experience was something that you don't get. That's not your normal, meet and greet. You know what I mean? So, yeah, boy, the only thing I regret about that is just we didn't get an album from it. But hey, some things are just meant for the audience right then and there.
Another magical night. I went a few times to that show, and I just had like just the electricity in the room and how the went through your body watching you all make magic up. It was pretty special.
Thank you.
Really special. You got to create the role of Aaron Burr in the Chicago company and then the national company of that phenomenon known as Hamilton. What was it like living in the world created by Lin-Manuel Miranda?
I did that show for a year and a half between Chicago and the first national tour, and I never got sick of it once. I love a challenge as a performer, and that role requires you, Aaron Burr, to step up every single night. You just can't. I don't know how to do it, phoning it in, and physically, emotionally, spiritually, it taxed me. But it showed me how to prepare, how to be just a fine-tuned machine, and that the things that sustain me as a performer are way more than acting, singing, and dancing. And I had to really take care of, what I listened to, what came into my mind, like my mental care was something I had to really be aware of. I remember, and I'll say it, like I've said it many times, I was in therapy while I was doing that show, every week. I'd have a I'd have a session just to work out things that I was dealing with. But it really was I think it might be the most fun I've had in a show, because the music was the type of music that I listened to. The story and the way that it's told with the people involved was something that was just revolutionary. And I got to be, again, with Lin-Manuel Miranda's material, which was my first experience in New York. So I got to see his progression along as I was progressing in this show that I loved, that was challenging me so much. So I was just in this chamber of like, whoa, that's what it was, being in a chamber of whoa. That's
okay,
what it felt.
So I have asked everybody I've spoken to who's been in Hamilton, either in New York or on the road, did you ever go to the White Room? And do you remember?
Oh, I just went right there.
All right, so we should explain. They call it the White Room there. So the White Room is when someone goes up on stage. In Hamilton, it's very hard to get back if you're on the turntable or you miss a beat, and everyone has done it. So do you remember one of your favorite, like going to the White Room?
Oh, yes. When I tell you, so the song "Wait for It," love doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. There's another chorus that's similar. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. Life doesn't discriminate. And so one time I literally could not get the word out. I was like, love is in the rate. The kingdom of and the planes and it takes and it takes and it takes. And that's literally what came out. This serious song where you're supposed to be, just thinking about your past and your future, what's your place in the world. And I was said that love doesn't discriminate between the feminine and the saint and the mace and the shakes and the cakes. It was so bad. And you come backstage and everyone's like, Josh, you all right? I'm like, yeah. Wait for it.
Everyone's done it. Everyone I've spoken to has done it.
It's easy. It's like being on a treadmill. If you've never been in a musical, y'all, a treadmill that's going at like 12, right? And if you miss a step, you're going down, and then you're gonna go backwards. So that's what it felt like. But then all of a sudden you're back there, and you're like, I don't think I can get back on that thing again. You just pick a word and you go.
Who got you back? Did you get back yourself, or did
I did, but you could see it on my forehead. There was just a waterfall. When you go up and you try not to, and all of a sudden you just you're like, Lord, where am I?
Fans love that, I understand, right? Like the people have seen it over and over, like, oh my God, I'm so glad Josh went up tonight.
They do.
Up number one.
It's like it's a live theater. There's nothing like it. And then to see them recover, right, and get back in there, it's all about the recovery. All about the recovery.
I love it. So you only went up once then, right, to the White Room?
Richard, I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you that's the greatest hit. It was a year and a half there were a few White Rooms that I entered. I don't know how much time we have, but there was a
you can tell us.
Okay. There's the room where it happened. Da, 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 da. Mr. Sepp, That. I'm like, in my mind, I had Jefferson, Washington, Madison, Secretary. Who am I? And just in that moment, you just freeze. Michael Lawoye was like, he looked at me like, like what? Ah, Mr. Nefery. Oh boy, that's not his name. So.
Because you had all the names in your head, and they all like blended together into this new character that doesn't exist in Hamilton.
Yeah. Oh man, tell you what, that's like starting off a song like that. Anyhow.
Yeah, but that's live theater. That's what it's all about, though. It's like you said, it's the doing it, then the recovery. What gets you out of it?
It's like life, right? Right. We mess up, and then we got to be like, you know, acknowledge it, and then just go. Can't linger too long.
The turntable keeps going. Get back on that thing again.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those, because everyone shared them, and they're like, because everyone's done it. And like you said, everyone's done it more than once.
Oh yes.
All right, you received your third Tony nomination for your brilliant performance as Billy Bigelow in Carousel. You became a dad during previews. You and I talked about this before. How did being a dad influence your performance, especially in your soliloquy?
I still remember that day, the first day back, singing soliloquy after Samson was born on a Monday and then coming back on a Tuesday. I don't really have, I had to really separate myself, which is what I don't like to do, but I had to suppress the emotion and just go through the technical aspects of the song from crescendo to emotion, because I was so tender on the inside. It wasn't until like 2 days after that where I was able to live and sort of put my life and my emotion back into the story again. But there's nothing like singing My Boy Bill, you know? And then I was able to, in my mind, say My Boy Samson and really live in that moment. Like every smile about that story in that 9-minute song was genuine. You know, every question about what he was going to be was genuine. And it was the best thing that could have happened for the show. And it was certainly the best thing at that time that had ever happened to me personally.
Because we knew at the time, and I used to go to Carousel a lot. So for me, I always waited for you to sing that because I knew you were singing from a whole different place, trying to live in the world of Rodgers and Hammerstein. But I just knew that it took you somewhere else. That when you started singing about your boy, I knew who you were singing about. It just took us to a whole other place as an audience. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Richard. Wow. Wow.
All right, now we have to go Lin-Manuel all over again, because talk about a full circle moments, like first with your choir teacher, and now you've had these full circle moments. I mean, you've done some incredible work on television and film. And the upcoming, of course, is the film version of Tick, Tick, Boom, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut. I mean, we're so excited for this. Dynamite cast you get to work with. What was it like? Who do you play? And what was it like filming this?
So I played Roger Bart, who was a great friend of Jonathan's. And we got to film this last year in the middle, you know, and then one of the craziest moments of the pandemic. And I felt so blessed to be able to tell the story about artists struggling to find their place in their career and in their personal life, because that's us. Like that's what we do. One of the really cool moments about that shoot though was the first day where we were having sort of a screen testing out the wardrobe and the lighting and the set. So each of us had to come out. Vanessa Hudgens came out to do her thing. Andrew Garfield did his thing. Robert DeJesus. And then when I came out, Lynn put on the big speakers "Favorite Son." Like he played that. So like when I came out, I just wasn't expecting to hear it. And I was like, oh, but it was just this vibe from the original recording, cast recording. And just the thought of Lynn to do that, to make me feel so like, this is you. Like you're meant for this here right now. Made me feel so special. Yeah. And I was like, wow, Lynn, before even a camera started rolling, that's a talent that he has. He's been doing that since we were in the Heights, when he was creating mixtapes for us on CDs for opening nights off Broadway, then on Broadway. He's just so thoughtful, and he just set the scene for artists to really thrive and be their best. So it was an amazing experience.
Well, we can't wait. I know it's coming on Netflix. We cannot wait for Tick, Tick, Boom. So you've done a lot of work on TV and film. I always ask stage actors who start on stage, do you remember the first thing you filmed, and did you grasp the camera right away, or were you like a fish out of water?
I think the first thing I ever filmed was a show called Kings, where I had maybe 3 or 5 lines, and I tried to pretend like the camera wasn't there, which is probably a good thing, but I didn't know anything about it. So the camera was probably 10 feet away from me, and I had these lines with the lead actors at the time, and I remember just being like, "Hey, if you just do your training, like ignore that the camera is there and just live in the moment." That's what I told myself. And later on, I started to understand more technique and acting for the camera specifically. But that was my approach. I was just like, I mean, I know you see me, but I'm not going to look at you. Kind of treated it like an audience member, you know? So I guess that's where the theater technique kind of came in handy.
No, I love that, because everyone has these different, some people be like, oh my God, they were like, smaller, do it smaller, less voice, give us this. And they're like, you won't be able to hear me. Like, that's what I want.
Right.
It
is a challenge for theater actors to especially when you're dealing with like the frame that we're in, Richard. Yeah. It's a whole different thing. To be honest and smaller takes a second when you've been doing something a certain way for years to an audience in the back of the theater for 1,300 seats.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've learned, and again, for me, it's all about observing. Even in 2007, I did Sex and the City. I got to see these incredible actors and actresses act when the camera's this close to them, and I'm like, okay, fair enough, got it. You have to see it. Sometimes you just have to see it, and then you can learn and apply it. And I've been fortunate to see a lot of incredible folks.
Yeah. My final question for you is, now that we're out, now that we're sort of opening up again with theater and film and everything else, what have you learned the most about yourself personally during this pandemic?
I'm going to take a
question.
Yeah. I think what I have learned the most is that I haven't given myself a lot of permission to sometimes enjoy. I feel like I felt like I've been living in the moment, but when I think about enjoying moments now, I'm just not thinking like what I think maybe kids has a lot to do with this too, but I can sit in a moment a lot longer than I used to without thinking, that was great, let me move on. Or, I've been able to like sit and have breakfast now and just think about flavor, and I think it's because of this pause. So for me, I didn't realize that so much of my life had been moving to the next thing. And in the name of incredible things, like I just want to grow. I want to go to the next thing and learn. And sometimes the best information that we have is in the pause and in the noticing of just right now. And then looking at your incredible glasses and your smile, and I think that's what I learned about myself, is that I haven't given myself full permission to enjoy, moments. And now I'm trying to fold that in even more.
You will. That's so beautifully put. I love learning from the pause and everything else. Thank you for being so honest. I wanted to catch up with you for the longest time during this. And you're one of my favorite people. Like I said, I look at your posters behind you, and I said, I was there on all those carpets and watched you grow as an artist and everything else, and everything you've achieved, not just professionally, but personally. The life you've created for yourself, the family you've created for yourself, and you have 3 beautiful kids. You got a gorgeous wife. You got a gorgeous life. You have a great career. So thank you for sitting with me today.
Richard, thank you so much. You're a part of my journey. Every time these big moments happen, you're there. And I really appreciate talking to you and your enthusiasm and your love for this incredible world. So thank you.
You all make magic. You make the magic 8 times a week. It's not easy to do, and you've done it show after show after show. And you're also one of the nicest people. I just love people who are really talented and really nice. And you're up there with the best of them, my friend, just so you know that.
Thank you.
So So as we go, once again, Joshua will be in concert this Thursday night, August 26th at 7:30 p.m. for Broadway Out East at Calissa in Watermill. We have to give a big shout out to the producer of this whole thing. Justin Smith's done a beautiful job with putting this whole entire concert series together. A portion of the proceeds from ticket sales will go to local Hamptons nonprofits, including the Bay Street Theater, the Children's Museum of the East End, and the Hamptons Community Outreach. For more information can be found by visiting CalissaHamptons.com/Broadway Out East for a ticket. Josh, have the best time out there on Thursday. Love to your family, and I cannot wait to see you on a carpet or back on a stage in New York, my friend.
Thank you, Richard. Great to talk to you. All the best.
Good to see everybody. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you at the